Nuts. 100% guaranteed fresh coconut water delivered straight to your door. Call 876 309 6128. That's 876 309 6128. Refreshing and affordable. For more information, follow them on Instagram at Andy Gone Nuts. Truly refreshing. And Crumble by Mrs. C. Old English fudge and other delectable sweet treats. Call or WhatsApp 876 586 0471. That's 876 586 0471. Hello, everybody. I'm Simon Preston, and welcome back to Reggae Boys Commentary, your platform for everything Jamaican football related. Everybody doing okay? It's Thursday, July 17, 2025. We are basically, 2 weeks left in the month of July. And then, of course, we know 4 weeks in the month of August. And then back again, we're back with international football. So in terms of the senior men's national team. So that is 6 weeks. 6 weeks and a couple of days to go before our opening World Cup qualifier against Bermuda in Hamilton. So we're looking forward to what lies ahead. So folks, if you guys haven't already, we kindly encourage you to hit the like, share, and subscribe button to Reggae Boys Commentary. That would be greatly appreciated before we get into this video in particular. Is everybody doing okay? Yes, let us know how you guys are doing in the comments. Let us know your feedback, and also show your love and support to the platform as well by using the super chat feature so that everybody can stay in tune and ask any questions that you will want to ask. Okay, so go right ahead and do that. And we certainly look forward to that. I know personally, I say, Simon, you didn't warn us that you're going live. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. It is Thursday. Thursday. Let's see what is being said in the comments. Jamaican Englishman, how are you? Sawyer 6'5" or 6'6"? I'm 6'5", so I'm 1 meter 96. And when you do the conversion, 1 meter 96 to feet and inches, it will be 6'5". I'm So Social says 6 games away. All 10 million of us Jamaicans need to unite. I'll get to that. For sure. I'll get to that. Jason Guna, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for passing through. That is greatly appreciated. So let me put up another picture, and then I'll get to the title of this video that I named in particular, okay? So let's get to that right now, okay? Chorus Corny says up, and Chatty W says live. Marvin Farron, my name is Simon, not Simone, so Simon. Simone is Simone, which as we know is a woman. All right, good. J Squad EduFun says, hey Simon, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Okay, good. So let me put up a picture, and then I'll get to what this video is about. Okay. Dean Live 11 Brown Radio, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So this picture, that's Ronaldo Cephas right there, receiving the cheer and praise from Jamaican support in London quite recently. This was after the equalizer, specifically Kaheem Dixon's goal to make it 1-1 against Nigeria. So the title of this video, We Are Jamaicans, because as you know, me personally, I go straight into the video. So that is exactly what we're going to do right now. Okay, good. So we are Jamaicans. So in August of 2017, I was in London, and when I was working specifically in radio, I was sent to cover Usain Bolt's last World Championships for Jamaica. And of course, this was in the London Stadium in London, which as a quote knows in East London. And of course, in the mixed zone, you have opportunities to be able to communicate and interview athletes post-race. And big up, hope you're doing well. This is the first time that you're commenting under this name. Maybe you should do it more often. So, going back to the story, there was an athlete that I ran into and had an opportunity to speak to, but there was a conversation before that. And this is none other than Russian world champion and also European champion, indoor champion, European under 23 champion, and military world games champion, and Continental Cup champion. And this is none other than Sergei Shabenkov, a man that has won medals all over in the men's 110-meter hurdles. And before getting the opportunity to communicate with Sergei Shabenkov, Nitro, let me make this clear. If you are born in England and your great-grandparents are born in Jamaica, I consider you Jamaican. Johnny Paul says, up, Simon. So I go back to the point. Sergei Shabenkov, he just ran his race and he came through the mixed zone. And the first comment he made to me was, are you really Jamaican? That was the first comment he made, because he told me off air that what he knows of Jamaicans are Jamaicans who are not necessarily tall and Jamaicans who are dark skinned. That was his impression. Nitro 69, that is absolutely incorrect, 100% inaccurate. So that was what Sergei Shabenkov felt. And from that day in 2017, he said he had a different mindset about what Jamaica was and who Jamaicans are. And he said it was because of me why he understood the diversity of Jamaica. Now I've made it extremely clear and abundant on this platform. I, Simon Preston, was born in Jamaica. I, Simon Preston, went to school in Jamaica. I, Simon Preston, went to prep school, high school, and university within Jamaica. The only education that I did outside of Jamaica was my footballing education at the Scottish Football Association. That was the only education I did outside of Jamaica, which was my footballing education at the Scottish Football Association. 3 million Jamaicans on the island, 2.5 within the United States, 2 million within the UK, 1 million within Canada, and that takes us to 8.5 million Jamaicans across those four nations right there. And the remaining 1.5 million Jamaicans reside within Germany, the Netherlands, Panama, Costa Rica, Japan, etc. So that is the situation. 10 million Jamaicans across the globe. 10 million. And when you look at this picture right here, you see it. I see white Jamaicans, I see Indian Jamaicans, I see Chinese Jamaicans, I see black Jamaicans. Every day of my life, I've seen that nationality. And Wells, you are correct. You do have Jamaicans that reside in Australia. It's under 2,000 people. But yes, you are correct that you do have Jamaicans that reside within Australia. Absolutely. You are correct. But the point I'm making, outside of the United States, Canada, the UK, and Jamaica, the markets that fall just below that in terms of quantity of numbers are Germany, the Netherlands, Japan, Costa Rica, and Panama. But you are absolutely right in terms of Australia. And you do have countries that have less Jamaicans than Australia as well. You have Iceland that has about under 500 Jamaicans. You have, for an example, Latvia that has under 100 Jamaicans. And I could go on and on in relation to that aspect of things so that you understand. So when you look at the title of this video, we are Jamaicans. We are Jamaicans. And nobody should ever question that. Because just like in the United States, which has its diversity, it's the same with Jamaica as well. You look at Canada's national team as well, and you see it. You have Portuguese representing Canada. You have players of African heritage representing Canada. You have French players of heritage representing Canada. DS Electronics Unlimited, how are you? And the same with Jamaica. We've had Indo-Jamaicans represent Jamaica, persons of Indian heritage. We've had persons of Chinese heritage represent Jamaica. We've had person of Lebanese heritage represent Jamaica. And the list goes on and on and on. And I know you might be scratching your head trying to remember these names, but the reality is if you think hard, you'll realize that these same persons have represented Jamaica over the last decade. So you get the point exactly where I'm going with all of this. Trent Bourne, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. So 6 weeks, 6 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go until our opening game against Bermuda in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. 6 weeks to go. That's how close we are. 6 weeks to go and 6 games to go. And many people choose, I don't want to say choose to ignore it or maybe turn a blind eye. But I think it's important that persons do read René Simoes' book. Did you know that René Simoes was knocked out of the first round of the Caribbean Cup in 1997? This is in the middle of World Cup qualifying. And his head was called for. But as we know, come November, we're celebrating qualification to the 1998 World Cup. Carl Largy, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. But if persons follow that journey, if you follow that journey in 1997, all right? In fact, 1996 to be specific, that journey, and you think about what transpired, all right? Jamaica was in a group with Trinidad and Tobago, with Suriname, and with St. Kitts and Nevis. And it was 1 win from 3 matches. Caribbean Cup 1996. And this was in the middle of World Cup qualifying after our first round against Suriname and after our second round against Barbados, as the engine was starting to rev. But you know, again, I'm going to state facts. Right, true. I'm going to repeat this so that you are aware. Because somebody has a Jamaican passport does not mean that they are ready for a call-up. Because somebody can represent England or the Netherlands at youth level, they have to do what is called an international transfer clearance. And without that international transfer clearance, that person cannot represent Jamaica. So I go back to the title of this video. We are Jamaicans. And as Jamaicans, we have a responsibility. And that responsibility is for the 6 games, we get 18 points because 6 times 3, as we know, equals 18. 18 points that guarantees us a ticket to the big dance next summer. Nitrate goes hand in hand. You have the official transfer request that goes through the Jamaica Football Federation, and you need the player to sign off on it as well. So it is twofold. So I don't know what is your agenda specifically, but it's important that you speak the truth and not speculate with the little information that you have. Drainer with the Sports, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Carl Ergy, you're absolutely right. And I go back to this example. Everybody, well, maybe Travis Pessoa because he's a little older than most persons that might be in the chat, but I don't think there's any secret as to what Jamaica was like during the 1980s. In the 1980s, Jamaica was a society that had economic problems, hurdles, and what you found was that there was a mass migration in Jamaica during the mid 1980s to the late 1980s, especially after Hurricane Gilbert. You had persons that left Jamaica, right? And they went to the States, they went to Canada, they went to the UK. Some families decided to stay in Jamaica, such as my parents. My parents decided to stay in Jamaica, and I was born in Jamaica. So, that being said, why should I be treated differently from a Casey Palmer or a Tiffany Cameron, whose parents decided to take that opportunity overseas? These players and their parents took on opportunities that would aid them and their families, and they're looking forward. So we do have to think about this importantly, that persons, you're just as much as a Jamaican as I am. Marlon King, Adrian Mariappa, Lloyd Doyley, you're Jamaican just like you and me. No, he's not a grandpa. Come on, Dre. Don't say that. Don't say that. The point I'm making is that Travis Pessoa is more experienced and would have a knowledge of what the Jamaican landscape was like, especially during the mid to late 1980s. Maybe Dre had migrated already, but after Hurricane Gilbert, you had persons that migrated from Jamaica and seeked opportunities outside of Jamaica. That was evident. And it's as simple as that. Travis, the point that I'm making is this, right? Because I see you in the comments. The point I'm making, Travis, so that persons get abundantly clear and are absolutely, and I get the knowledge really. Because somebody has a Jamaican passport doesn't mean that that person is ready for a call up. And Charlie W, this is absolutely something that has been discussed already. There is absolutely no quota within the Jamaica senior men's national team. So I don't know where that speculation has come from. Absolutely none within the Jamaica senior men's national team. So I go back to the point, Travis, that I was making. In Jamaica, in the late 1980s, you had Hurricane Gilbert. Persons for many months did not have light, and it took a long time for Jamaica to be rebuilt post that. And I think there was a change after that time frame. There was a change during that time frame. So that's why I said, Charlie W, you need to listen carefully and get the absolute facts. And again, you're not understanding what I'm saying. The title, We Are Jamaicans, is embracing all of us. All of us should be united. Charlie W should be united. Travis Pessoa should be united. Nitro 69 should be united. Simon Preston should be united. All 10 million of us. All of us. Why should you be on that side and I be on the other side? That doesn't make any sense, because at the end of the day, you and I want the exact same thing, and that is to have our country at the greatest show on earth come June next year. And it is as simple as that. Absolutely, J Squad. Absolutely. Because we are 6 games away. To qualify for the 1998 World Cup, we played 20 matches. We played Suriname home and away. We played Barbados home and away. We had 6 matches in the semi-final round and 10 in the final. So that was 20 matches altogether. In this qualifying cycle, 10 matches to get to the World Cup, and we've already completed 4. So again, I reiterate the point that we are 6 games to go until World Cup qualification. Omar, Let me tell you something. If Simon does not say it, then it no go. So there is no quota within the Jamaica senior men's national team. Listen when I speak. So the title says, We are Jamaicans. Jamaicans come in all different shapes and sizes and complexions. And the world is starting to see that and understand that more. And I hope that as we continue to excel on the field of play, that they will recognize that more as well. That Jamaica is a nation that is just as diverse as the United States, just as diverse as Canada and the UK. And in the future, that diversity is going to grow. It's just the reality of the situation, because there are opportunities that are open up in Jamaica in other sectors, infrastructure in particular, road and works, that's growing. And when you go into the PICA office every single week, you see persons of different nationalities trying to obtain Jamaican citizenship for their work in Jamaica. And that is only starting to grow and grow and grow. Nigel, that is not true. You are a Jamaican once you were either born in Jamaica or you are born to Jamaican parents or grandparents or great-grandparents based on the law of the land of Jamaica. So stop chatting foolishness. Good. And for me, even if your great-great-grandparents were born in Jamaica, you are a Jamaican to me as well. I'm going based on the law of the land of Jamaica, parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, based on the law of the land of Jamaica. All right? So please stop chatting foolishness and listen to what I'm saying. Maybe by then you'll be able to get some information. So with all of that being said, we can continue with the point now. Now, when persons saw Morocco at the last World Cup, we saw Morocco get to the semifinals of the 2022 World Cup. All right. Morocco finished 4th. Did we see the Moroccan diaspora that lied within Qatar? It was a beautiful sight, wasn't it, to see the support that they had throughout the course of the tournament? Beautiful. Now imagine having Jamaica there. And when you look at this picture right in front of us, and you see Ronaldo Cephas celebrating. And this was a 17,000 seater stadium. So imagine this in a stadium which has a 60,000 capacity, a 90,000 capacity. Wells, let me make this clear as well. Tyrese Campbell from Sheffield United, that is not how you spell his name. The way how you spell this person's name, that's Tyrese Campbell from Charlton, okay? Tyrese Campbell from Sheffield United is spelled Tyrese, okay? Good. And at the end of the day, you need persons who are committed to represent Jamaica. Committed. Meaning they need to have the desire to be here. What's the point in forcing somebody to do what they don't want to do generally? Think about it generally. If you force somebody to do what they don't want to do you think that whatever activity that they're doing is going to have any motivation, enthusiasm, or efficiency? Absolutely not. For persons who are parents, fathers, who are uncles, and you ask your son or daughter or nephew to do something, and they're reluctant to do it, do you see that enthusiasm, that drive, or that effectiveness? Absolutely not. So any player that is taking the field for Jamaica, it should also represent the same level of enthusiasm. You need to have that burning desire to be here. You love Jamaica. You can't wait for international camp. It doesn't matter if you have a 15-hour flight just to get to Jamaica. You can't wait to get there. because you love your country. And that is exactly the mentality that everyone should have, as we are so close. 6 games from World Cup qualification. And again, persons are going to say this name and that name and this name and that name and this name and that name. Do not forget that you have players right now that are in preseason with their clubs. Preseason with their clubs. So when are they going to get an opportunity, if interested, to be able to get naturalized as a Jamaican? Because guess what? They're with their clubs and they're going to be with their clubs now. Pre-season. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to go to Jamaica. No. They have pre-season with their clubs. So think about that. Nitro, again, you are gone on a wrong turn, and it's like, you see, it says one way and you decide to go the other way. There's no but. Not necessarily, Javari Laban, because you have a saying in life that says, keep it private until it's permanent. I've never posted a woman on my social media. Never. And I won't do that until I'm engaged to that person. Whenever I'm in a courtship, I wouldn't, if I'm ever get engaged to somebody, then I would post them. Because you have work to be done behind the scenes, Javar Laban. So without the speculation, it's very simple. Persons can ask the coach at the press conference, is this true? There's nothing wrong with asking the coach, is this true? But do not speculate what you don't know. There's a big difference between that. A massive difference. There's nothing wrong with you, Javari Laban, saying, coach, is it true that so-and-so? There's nothing wrong with asking that question. But don't speculate what you don't know. And it is as very simple and straightforward as that. Trent Bourne, if you think about it really honestly, the Mexican Federation has a contract that plays 10 to 12 matches every year within the United States. So technically, you're right. They do play matches at home, a lot in the East Coast and a lot in central states like Texas, for an example. So from that standpoint, you are right. You are right in that aspect of things. And I think that is brilliant. And for me personally, after qualifying for the 2026 World Cup, I personally believe getting into an agreement where we sign a contract where we play at least 2 fixtures every year within the United Kingdom. Personally, for me, I think that after that, come 2026 onwards, we should have a contract where we play the minimum of 2 matches in England every year, whether that is 2 in London or 1 in London and 1 in Birmingham. Personally, that is how I feel. And I would have a similar contract for the United States, which is either New York or Florida. New York or Florida. Whether that is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, or Orlando. Because if you put a game in one of those 3 areas, rampage. We'll get to Canada eventually. But to start, UK. Seeing the level of support for the Unity Cup games, that was an 11 out of 10, as I always said. I always said that game against Canada in Toronto 2023, where Boza scored a brace and Bobby Reid scoring a penalty, that the Jamaicans were 10 out of 10 that day. But I have to admit to you that Jamaicans were an 11 out of 10 at the Brentford Stadium in West London. So that is why I believe every year starting next year, we should have at least 2 matches in the United Kingdom. You put 2 in London or 1 in London and 1 in Birmingham, my days. You create memories for a lifetime. Nitro, again, I don't know where you are getting these, I don't even want to call it information, but these fallacies, because you're chatting absolute foolishness. Absolute foolishness. I don't know where you're getting this information from, and this is why there's a lot of speculations online because that is not true. So I don't know where you're coming with all of that nonsense. Well, Javar Laban, absolutely, because as we know, the national stadium, it was made clear as well by the Minister of Sports that the upgrades helps us to be in good stead for Jamaica to one day host the World Championships in athletics. So the upgrades, I'm not going to say that no consideration was taken towards football, but I'm saying the upgrades to the national stadium, a point was raised in relation to be up to standard to host athletics events. So with all of that being said, I'm absolutely fine with London matches every year. Absolutely fine. And Odello, I get your point because we saw the Jamaican support against Argentina a couple of years ago, and that was fantastic. That was fantastic. And yes, Red Bull Arena, Harrison, New Jersey, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, Amar, you should be. You should be confident. And I've made it abundantly clear why. Would you say we played well in the Unity Cup games? I'm sure you would. Would you say that we played well against Guatemala? Absolutely. So having Isaac Hayden certainly is important. We see his importance to us. Having Bobby Reed will be important. We've seen the impact that Mason Holgate has for us as well. So with players who are returning from different knocks and so on, that will certainly make a massive impact for us. This time now, it's about reflection, forward thinking, planning towards September. Well, Trent Boring, in relation to what Victor Montaliani said, he said that an entire tournament will never be held outside of the United States, but can Jamaica host a group? He said yes. So, but the thing is, you'll never have a Gold Cup that is not staged in the United States. So it'll always be USA and Jamaica, or USA, Costa Rica, and Jamaica, if you understand the point I'm making, because CONCACAF makes their money from the CONCACAF Gold Cup. So an entire tournament will not be staged outside of the United States. So I've made that point abundantly clear. Waterloo? Yes, Mr. Galaxy. There is actually a Waterloo Road in St. Andrew, Jamaica. So yeah, very confident. Looking forward to it. Well, that is how it should be. One Umbrella Sports. That's how it should be. That is how it should be. We're 6 games away. So why shouldn't one be optimistic? Why shouldn't one be excited and enthusiastic about what lies ahead? Why shouldn't we have 35,000 people at the National Stadium come September 9? Because that is exactly the importance there. So that is what I would say there. The important thing, Dre, as you know, at the end of the day, is that persons are at clubs and playing football. Players will get the opportunity. For those that play their trade in England, they start their season August, so they'll get 4 league games and a cup game, perhaps. Richard King will get a couple of League Cup games and a couple of League Cups games. He probably plays 8 or 9. So whoever needs to find a club needs to sort that out as soon as possible. Whoever needs to find clubs needs to sort that out. You know, we'll see where Dexter Lembekisa ends up if he stays at Wolves. We'll see with, I'm sure Cephas will be on the move soon. We'll see. I'm sure in due course we'll see Isaac Hayden as well. So for now, it is about gearing your mind and energy and strength towards that. Yes, Javari Laban, and I've made that point abundantly clear that in relation to the National Stadium upgrades, we haven't heard anything about the surface. It is just about the athletics. And I've made it clear since 2022 when these discussions began surrounding the upgrade of the National Stadium, 3 things were mentioned. 1, a museum inside the National Stadium. 2, improvement of the capacity of the stadium to 40,000. And 3, bringing the National Stadium to IAAF, not IAAF, but World Athletic Standards so that Jamaica can host the World Championships in athletics come 2029. I've made it abundantly clear for the last 3 years now about this, and that is why persons have to listen to what I'm saying, because as I said, the priority first for the upgrades of the National Stadium is track and field. And it's not the first time, nor is it the second time that I'm saying it. It's not a first or second time. So persons have to know that. Okay. So let that stay with you because it's true. Well, Patrick Riley, if you have a couple billion US dollars, then send it to my account and I can arrange that to happen. Okay? Because at the end of the day, all of these upgrades are being done through the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Finance, and the Sports Development Foundation. However, if you have a couple of billion US dollars to be able to get a football specific stadium, then send it straight to my account and I can make that happen. Because that's not going to happen anytime soon unless you have a couple of billion US dollars on you that you can send to me and I find a place to be able to get this done. I'm guessing, and I can only guess, Patrick, you're not somebody that lives in Jamaica. I can tell you're somebody that doesn't live in Jamaica because you're not aware of the landscape and the space that we have within the island. If we go and get a football specific stadium right now, it can't even be in Kingston. It can't be in Kingston. You'd have to take it to a venue outside of Kingston. So it's not going to take place at this point in time. That's not aggressive, Omar. I'm speaking coherently. He wants a football specific stadium. And in an island that is just under 11,000 square kilometers, he's not going to get that. Because in Jamaica, we believe in economies of scale. And we're not going to build a stadium that is just specific to one sport. We're not going to do that. Because that would be seen as a waste of money. Why have a one sports stadium when you could have a stadium that could have 10 sporting disciplines? That you can have lacrosse, you could have rugby, you could have football, you could have athletics. Because Jamaica already is a small island and it's no secret about that. So that's not going to change. Do you even know that the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad was a venue for football matches? Jamaica even played a World Cup qualifier there. Queen's Park Oval. Jamaica played at the Queen's Park Oval. Dion Burton and Ananda Lowe scored in a 2-1 victory. And you know who was the head coach of Trinidad back then? René Moyes. Well, Trent Boring, I'm sure you're aware that in 2021, Jamaica's 3 group stage games were in Orlando. And I'm sure you're aware when you go back to the 2015 Gold Cup, Jamaica had a match in Toronto. And I'm sure you're aware when you go back to the 2011 Gold Cup, Jamaica's group stage matches were in Miami and New York. So to say the word nothing is not accurate. Okay? So as I said, if you're going to come on this platform, bring something that is actually factual and true. Because it's not true that Jamaica has not played matches in diaspora areas. Jamaica has played Gold Cup matches in diaspora areas. If you were to say Jamaica has not recently played Gold Cup matches in diaspora areas, then I can say, okay, that statement would be considered accurate. So Javari Laban, and as you're aware, you still have a number of events to take place at the National Stadium coming up. There's going to be Grand Gala, which is Independence Day on August 6th. And also you have the start of the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup, where you're going to have Mount Pleasant Academy taking on Robin Hood FC out of Suriname. So you're going to have matches, you're going to have events, I should say, that are going to take place at the National Stadium prior to the September World Cup qualifier. Brownman Security, I said that already. The National Stadium is not going to move. I'm saying if you're going to build a football specific facility, not only are you going to need external resources now, but you're going to have to do it outside of Kingston. Because in Kingston, land now is basically used up. Persons are living in Portmore and persons are going to start to live in Maypen. And I know persons right now that are starting to live in Mandeville and they work in Kingston. So persons right now, they don't mind the commute to work in Kingston, drive 1 hour 20 minutes go, drive 1 hour 20 minutes back, and live in Mandeville. Persons are going to start to live outside of Kingston. You go to Portmore right now, and persons don't have any excuse or reason to leave Portmore. You have Starbucks, you have Popeyes, you have Price Mart, you have supermarket, you have movie theater, you have Chinese food, you have everything that you need in Portmore. So persons don't have to come to Kingston unless it is their work. And again, going back to a football specific facility, land in Kingston is done, used up for residential and commercial. So if you're going to build a football stadium, it's going to have to be outside of Kingston. Carl Argy, I'm not sure in relation to eyesight, but what I do know is that he's not 100%. Well, up to 1G, I wouldn't consider myself to be an architect. But what I can say is that improving the capacity of the national stadium is something that I embrace and I endorsed 100%. Well, it's not true one umbrella sports entertainment. I do understand your point because even Old Trafford or Manchester City Stadium has concerts there of different recording artists. So I do get your point from that standpoint. But in the same breath, I stress with you that you do have stadiums that only the sport of football is being played. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing that takes place there because, of course, you have music concerts and so on and so forth. Even people don't even know this, but football is not the only sport that is even played at Old Trafford. Rugby league is actually even played at Old Trafford as well. But we can have that conversation another day as well. Lots hard to get into Mandeville also. You're saying it's hard to get into Mandeville? Well, I guess it depends the time of the day that you travel as well, because that also makes a massive impact in the things. If you're leaving your house at anytime after 7:30 or anytime after 8 o'clock, you know that you're going to put yourself in danger with traffic. You know that already because people have 9 to 5 jobs and persons are going to be in that scenario where they're on their way to work. So when you put that into perspective, you do have hurdles to overcome. But if you are punctual, if you leave out earlier, then you put yourself in a better scenario to be able to prepare yourself for the situation. Again, Dre, one of the sports that, in relation to Trelawney Sports Multipurpose Complex, that is a conversation that has to take place with the minister to see if it is going to evolve for sports and not just be a place where you have concerts, etc., etc. Seven, once there is land and once you have the billion of the US dollars, send it to me and I'll make it happen. So your question is, can't a stadium be built at St. Catherine? I'm confident there is space in St. Catherine. Absolutely. But what do you need next? You need the capital. And without the capital, the stadium cannot be built. Because already the resources between now and 2029 out of the Ministry of Finance is going towards the upgrade of the national stadium. So there won't be any leftover capital post 2029 in relation to building a stadium. However, if you have a couple of $1 billion lying around, send it to me and I'll make it happen. So it's as simple as that. It depends where you are in terms of Mandeville. I'm assuming you're talking specifically about residential and not commercial. Are you talking residential or commercial? Because the point I'm making here is that you do have persons that have gone to Mandeville because rent is cheaper in certain areas, to be frank with you, compared to in Kingston. You do have that as well. And persons have expressed the same situation with Kingston as they might experience when they're in London or Toronto or New York, where land, and I should say for some persons, rent is just astronomical and they cannot cope with that cost of rent, which is why they go to Portmore, they go to Spain, and for persons, so that you're abundantly clear, when I say Spain, I mean Spanish Town. People go to Maypen and people go to Mandeville because of the cost of what it rent would be compared to Kingston. No, Tevin, the Mandela Highway is not a waste. It is a very good road. And let me tell you something. As a Jamaican that has to change my tires every 6 months, I appreciate good roads. As a Jamaican that has to change my tires every 6 months, I appreciate the good roads. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So don't ever say that building a highway is a waste of money because it's not. It is not a waste of money. Far from it, in fact. Infrastructure, roads, that is a priority. Nitro, I don't know why you think that there's an issue with travel and fatigue. Because since the World Cup qualifiers last year against Dominica, Jamaica has traveled charter flights. So I don't understand what you are referring to there. It's not like we travel commercial and we have to stop here and stop there and stop there. Charter flights going to BVI, went to Honduras, went to Nicaragua, went to the United States. One flight, get off the plane, onto the bus, straight to the team hotel. So again, I don't know who is telling you things, but you are being misinformed. And that is the third time in this show. Well, that is the reality of the situation, Sanjay Brooks. When you have potholes in certain areas, you're going to have to change your tires frequently. And that is the reality of when you are in Kingston and St. Andrew, you do have those situations. So that is why you have to be extra cautious in certain areas, which is why I embrace the idea of the North South Highway, the East West Highway. So long may that continue in terms of the road work. The cane, sugar cane on Mandela Highway. I don't understand what you're saying, Tevin. I don't. I don't understand that, frankly. Tevin, you said, I'm talking these cane that don't make sense on Mandela Highway. That is what you typed. That's the exact words that you typed. So, Uptown 1G. The FIFA window is September 1 to September 9. That is the FIFA window, September 1 to September 9. Players have matches at their clubs August 29, August 30, August 31. So those individuals that are called up, they'll be called up, and the next day they fly out to whether it is Jamaica or whether it is Bermuda, train 2 days, and then, of course, the first match against Bermuda. It is as simple and as straightforward as that. I've made that clear, AM Henry. I've made that. Unless you do have somebody in the comments that has capital to invest, then please be my guest and send it straight to me. That's the point I'm making. So yeah. You said cane fields to the left and to the right. Well, yeah. My favorite part about BVI was the 3 points. That was my favorite part. 3 points. That was my favorite part about it, honestly. The 3 points. That was, yeah, that was the only thing because we had to gear our minds towards the World Cup qualifier against Guatemala. So it was literally win the game, leave, prepare for Guatemala. So 3 points. That was the priority, the utmost priority. So that is what I would say. Yep. Uptown 1G. He is a down to earth human being. He's somebody that loves Jamaica. And I'm hoping now that he can get consistent minutes under his belt. Well, thank you, Tevin, for explaining yourself better. I appreciate it. You're saying to the left and to the right of Mandela that there is wasteland, right? All right. So you have parish council, you have a couple of stakeholders that would need to get involved into that. And if you are to build a stadium in those areas, then you need to cut off a piece of the highway and build a road that would take it towards the stadium. You need a parking lot, you need permits. So there's a couple of things that has to be arranged for that to take place. Personally, I think Clarendon would be more user friendly in terms of a venue if you were to build a football specific stadium. Clarendon, 45 minutes from Kingston, in and out on the highway. All you have to do is just pay the toll, you're in and out. Simple as that. Portmore, Spanish Town, it's a different scenario. So that's personally how I feel. That's how I feel about it. Desmond Ranglin, how are you doing, sir? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for passing through. Well, Trent Boring, the reality of the situation is that Haiti cannot play matches in Haiti. So I'm not bothered about where their home matches are going to be played because Haiti is not in Jamaica's group. So Haiti playing their home matches there. My response is okay. I'm surprised that it's not Dominican Republic, but it's not my concern, frankly. So it is what it is. Lee, how art thou? Clarendon has plenty of land, Brownman. Plenty of land in Clarendon. But as I said, if you're building a football specific facility, it takes cash to care. So if you're willing, to put some money together, send it to me and I'll make it happen. Brando, no, they're not allowed to play their World Cup qualifiers in the United States because that, of course, is where the World Cup will be. So Haiti cannot play their matches there, their World Cup qualifiers there. So as I said, I'm surprised that it wasn't Dominican Republic. I think last year they played a World Cup qualifier, a home World Cup qualifier in Barbados. Maybe it's because they needed a visa. And maybe they don't need a visa to go to Curacao. I've not read up if Haitian passport holders need a visa to enter Curacao. I've not read up on that, you know. I mean, it could have even been Jamaican, you know. Haitian club Real Hope, they played their home games of the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup last year. They played their home games in Jamaica, you know. Yeah, they played their home games in Jamaica, Sabina Park, and also the National Stadium. So that was an interesting experience for them to play their games in Jamaica. They eventually came third and they qualified for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Yes, of course. They will host their 3 World Cup qualifiers at the Ergilio Hato Stadium in Willemstad. Yeah. Trinidad will host their 3 games at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, and Bermuda will have their 3 games at the Bermuda National Stadium in Hamilton. So that is that, you know? So that is where we are at this point in time. Yes, folks, thank you very much for tuning into this video. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for your support if you haven't already. Brando, it is a turf in Curacao, and it is grass in Bermuda and Trinidad. Thank you all. Portland, how you doing? Thank you for your support, guys. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and also use the super chat feature to show your support towards the platform as well. Jabari, my name is Simon, not Simone, okay? As I said, AM Henry, I'm not sure if it is because Haitian passport holders don't need a visa to enter Curacao, because at the end of the day, you need a visa to go to certain places when you have certain types of passports. So thank you, folks. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Reggae Boys Commentary for more content.
This video is brought to you by Andy Gone Nuts. 100% guaranteed fresh coconut water delivered straight to your door. Call 876-309-6128. That's 876-309-6128. Refreshing and affordable. For more information, follow them on Instagram at Andy Gone Nuts. Truly refreshing. And Crumble by Mrs. C. Old English fudge and other delectable sweet treats. Call or WhatsApp 876-586-0471. That's 876-586-0471.